You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
African Americans have a unique history in this country. There's a legacy of brutal enslavement, economic exploitation, state-sanctioned violence, and deliberate attempts to divide an already fractured people. Bobby Seale said, "The best way to fight racism and oppression is with solidarity." Dr. Ron Christopher Osborne Williams and filmmaker Tylon U. Savior Washington has created a unique online experience where African Americans are not only welcome, but preferred. A space where the only thing that matters is your blackness. Welcome to the Colored Only Cafe. With Dashawn Farad giving us our world news, the Bro Pete, the Empress Lydia Percy, Sonny B. Sutherland Sr., and you, the black community. Welcome to the Colored Only Cafe, where the conversation is always hot, black, and strong.
Wow, that first half was super hot. And I think now we're getting ready to kick it into a supernova. Future, can you please put all of your contact information in the chat? Please put it in the chat so that we can share the information so people can connect with you. So, you know, that's very important. But folks, this next guest is just an outstanding individual. I've known him for years. In fact, when he was running for mayor, I was out there stomping in the street, and everybody's shocked when they hear that because I'm always telling people, hey, you're voting for nobody. I don't vote. The one time I did vote, it was for this brother right here, Charles Barron. He's a former New York City council member and a state assemblyman who has spent decades on the front lines of grassroots activism. He's a radical politician, and he is all about community empowerment. He's a Black Panther. I'm not going to say former, because once you're a Panther, you're always a Panther, and co-founder of the Freedom Party. Barron is also well known for his unapologetic stance against systemic racism, gentrification, political corruption, and is a staunch critic of corporate influence in politics. And he brings a critical and revolutionary perspective to the New York City mayoral race that's happening, particularly regarding how it'll affect black and brown communities across the 5 boroughs. We had an election. Just pick up some of the things that I pick up on the internet or whatever. So, I asked him to come on because we're part of a community, and he made some interesting comments when we're talking about the current mayor, Mayor Adams, and people was like, oh, there's a brother who's running, and he said, oh, not so fast. So let's all welcome Charles Barron into the house. Welcome, Charles Barron.
Yeah.
There's a little static coming in. I don't know where it's coming from.
All right. It's not coming from me. Could you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Hold on. I think I know where it's coming from. Okay, yeah. All right. Hi, Charles. How are you doing this evening?
Hey,
Thank
man.
you.
Been a long time. How you?
I know.
Doing
Let me tell you, every day above ground is a good day.
You know that's true. That's true.
So, I'm so glad that you're here. And, can you actually inform me? Because, honestly, I don't know. I really stay away from, like, the fake stream media stuff because it's just so powerful. And I know all the tricks and stuff because I used to work for these agencies and stuff. So I know how powerful that is. So I kind of turn away. I don't want to turn to stone. When I look at mainstream. So I kind of not look, but New York City is an interesting market in terms of voting and politics, and I understand that there was an upset.
Absolutely. New York is an interesting place. But let me start off by saying this. Brothers and sisters, we're not going to be able to vote our way to freedom, to liberation. The electoral arena has its limitations. However, It is a powerful, powerful strategy, tactic for us getting a revolutionary message out there, but most importantly, getting some goods and services and to our people. Because, you know, as Milcar Cabral said, the great revolutionary from Guinea-Bissau, he said, bear in mind, the people are not fighting for ideas in your head, theories and ideologies. They're fighting for benefits for their children. They're fighting for material wealth, material things that could help them pay bills and eat food and put food on the table. So he was saying, tell no lies, claim no easy victories. So I say that to say that we get into the electoral arena after doing a power analysis and finding out how powerful the New York City Council was. It is the New York City Council that passes the budget, not the mayor. It's the New York City Council that determines what's going to be built on city-owned land, so you could stop gentrification if you don't have sellout, sycophant Negroes, neo-colonial puppets of the Democratic Party. Um, so you can do all of these things if you have the right people in power. Want to put one more thing out there, then I'll get to the specific election. This is the greatest time to be alive. Don't be overwhelmed by, or don't be trumpetized to the point that you don't realize and see and visualize that Africa is on fire with revolution, with the rise of the Sahel nations in West Africa, Burkina Faso and Niger and Mali, particularly Abraham Traore and Gota and Niger and Mali and Tichiani and Niger. These brothers, they rose up. They said, French, get the hell out of Africa, take America with you, and leave our gold behind, leave our uranium behind. So you got that development. This is the first time in the history of the continent that you had that kind of revolution that's actually transforming the economic condition. Of course, we had Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah, we had Patrice Lumumba, Kwame in 57, Patrice Lumumba in 1960, Bambella in Algeria, and Sekou Touré in Guinea, and of course, Julian Nyerere in Tanzania. They all rose up and had revolutions, but it didn't last long. They didn't get a chance to really transform their economies like these brothers are. And then you got the BRICS group, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and now 20 other nations have joined them. And they said, we're not dealing with the IMF anymore, the World Bank. We're going to have our own local currencies and develop our own international lending and financial agencies. So American is on the decline. Israel is on the decline, no matter how much they are bombing people. That's out of desperation. That's a whole nother program. I'll be glad to come back and talk about that.
Oh
So now
yeah.
let me get to New York politics.
Let's go.
New York politics. New York is a city of 8 million people, 2 million Africans or so called black people, another 2 million Latino people. So we're more than 55% of the population. The New York City Council is like 30 of the 51 council members are people of color, the total majority in the council. The Attorney General is a black woman. The head of the Assembly is a black man. The head of the Senate is a black woman. The mayor is black uh, mayor. I'm sorry,
It's
I got my colors mixed up. Uh, so you
he's so
have all
black he blue.
there you go. Thank you for bailing me out, my man. So, but what I think our greatest challenge is neocolonialism. The new way to colonize us is to put black faces in high places to
Right.
make it appear as though you made progress. But the colonial capitalist system maintains dominance and hegemony over its black communities called domestic colonies of colonial capitalism. On that backdrop, here comes Zoran Namdandi and Andrew Cuomo running for mayor with a host of about 8 or 9 other candidates, 2 or 3 blacks, the Speaker of the City Council, Adrian Adams, Michael Blake, who was a former assembly member. I was in the assembly with him and Zoran. And so the selection takes off. Oh, here comes Cuomo. He's coming back. I tell you, man, we're in the wrong business. We need to get into crime because crime pays. 34, convictions, convicted felon, and you can be
Mm-hmm.
president. And here you have a governor who could sexually harass 14 women, cause the death of elderly people in
Mm-hmm.
nursing homes because of his
During COVID. Mm-hmm.
policies during COVID, and come back now, have to resign in disgrace. And half the Negroes that were supporting him, like Greg Meeks, Congressman Meeks, and all of them, half of them Negroes was, Cuomo got to go. He got
Mm-hmm.
to go. And now all of a sudden, they all unite around Cuomo. He comes
Mm-hmm.
back to run for mayor. Andrew Cuomo, could you believe that? And here comes
Mm-hmm.
Michael Bloomberg. Here, Cuomo, take $8 million. Gave $8 million to some pack that was able to put up all these negative things against Zoran. And then you had he got about $25 million and had all the unions. He had all of the black leaders. I think he got 44% of the black vote, and Zoran got 20%. He got 50% of the Latino vote. Zoran got 30%. And so Zoran starts off with 1% in the polls, and then he winds up getting up to 25, 30, and come election day, they neck and neck, and
Mm-hmm.
Zoran pulls out a victory. Zoran had 43%, and Cuomo had, I think, 36%, something like that. And no, with ranked choice voting, you after the last person, the first round, the last person with the lowest, when they drop out, their votes are distributed. So whoever puts the other as second, they're gonna get all the votes. So everybody's saying Zoran got it because Brad Landers, who was the comptroller, he endorsed, they did a cross endorsement. So Landers finished third with 11% of the vote, and he has Zoran as his second, which means he's going to get Zoran's going to get all of Brad Landers' votes. And that's why he's going to win next Tuesday, even
Mm-hmm.
when they do the count. Now,
Mm-hmm.
said all that to say, what about black folk?
Right.
What about black folk? Yes, I'm a socialist. I'm anti-capitalist. I'm anti-imperialist wars. But these DSA members, when several of them came into the New York City Council with me, as soon as they got in, they got very pragmatic, and they started siding with Speaker Adrienne Adams. They voted for her, even though we had a
Mm-hmm.
progressive coalition saying we wouldn't vote for her as Speaker. But once they got promised chairs of committees and that bills will be passed, they flipped. And so my thing with Zoran, he's a nice brother. I worked with him in the state assembly. He's very progressive on the issue. I agree with many of his issues, but I'm noticing also that he's getting into political pragmatism over political principles. So
Mm-hmm.
now I'm saying, Zoran, how could you, Zoran, not support the retirees? You know, you have Medicare. When you retire, the feds
Mm-hmm.
pay about 80% of your health care. And then there's a Medigap. There's another 20% that you have to figure out how to pay on your own. So 50 years ago, the New York City Council said, these hardworking city workers, we will pay it. We will pay it. So for the last 50 years, the Medigap was paid by the city council. This year, 600 million in the budget for that. And by the way, 600 million of a budget that's 116 billion. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
less than 1%. So it
Wow.
ain't no real money. Here comes Eric Adams, Mayor Cop Adams. He decides he wants to keep the 600 million and do something else with it. So he's going to privatize it and force the retirees into Aetna. Aetna is a racist company, insurance company
Oh.
that insured enslaved Africans for the
That's right.
European enslaver. And
That's right.
here's a black man forcing everybody into that kind of company. So I put a bill together, and we had to fight the city councils to get people on the bill. All the unions came after me, said I was the worst thing that ever happened to the city council. And lo and behold, we beat them in court 11 times until the last Court of Appeals, finally, they won. The Court of Appeals said, yes, you can force them onto Aetna. But Eric Adams saw all the fight that we gave him. He decided, I ain't messing with them anymore. And after it cost them millions of dollars in lawsuits, I'm not gonna force it. So we won that battle. But here's why I mentioned all of that. So here comes Zoran the socialist, because he wants to get DC 37, which is one of the most powerful unions in New York City. And they said anybody that supports Barron's bill and these retirees, we're going to withdraw our support from you and our money. So Zoran is not supporting the retirees, the progressive, radical, socialist, history made. And then we have this thing called the City of Yes that Eric Adams put together to help developers gentrify our neighborhoods and build housing without it being affordable to our community, a lot of market rate housing. And 22 of the council members voted for it, 29 against it, but 29 voted for it, and it passed. But it is a pro developers bill. Zoran is supporting that. And then I'm saying, damn, man, what's going on here? So I said to black people, we should not support anybody. No more lesser to evil crap. No more. We got to stop Curtis Lever. We got to stop Eric Adams. We got to stop Andrew Cuomo. And on the national level, we got to stop Trump. So you don't do the right thing, Kamala Harris and the other guy, Joe Biden. You don't do the right thing for black people because you just got to have our support so we can stop somebody else. So I'm not down with that anymore. So
Right.
Zoran, he needs to, because this is not over. These businessmen in New York City, they don't want no socialists messing with their money, with their businesses, and coming in with no kind of policies that will affect their businesses. So they're going to mount something heavily against him. Cuomo is contemplating whether he's going to run again as an independent, him and Eric Adams. Adams is already going to do that. And of course, Curtis Lewa is in it, the right wing silly cracker. But anyway, he's in it too. Um, but the thing that I'm going to tell Zoran, I'm going to give him a holler when he comes down off his high. I ain't dancing in the street because some DSA candidate got elected and he's a socialist like me. Well, he ain't a socialist like me. He's a socialist, his brand. But I saw what Ocasio did, AOC, and I saw what Bernie Sanders did. These fake socialists that got into the Democratic Party, and their goal is to move the party more to the left. My goal is to call for a mass exodus from the party and thus make some revolution in America
That's
and
what's
get
up.
rid of this colonial capitalist system. I ain't trying to make the
That's what's up.
Democratic Party more progressive. That's not my goal. I use them. I ran in the Democratic primary because 95% of the people is black and brown, and they are Democrats. And if you don't run in the primary, you're not winning. And I didn't want to run just for some symbolism and raise some issues, get some name recognition. No, I wanted to win, and we did for 21 years, and we did a whole lot of good things. So anyway, as far as November's concerned, I'm telling black people, Cuomo did not deserve your vote. And Mamdani did not earn your vote. So what we need to do is say, brother, if you want to win, it's not going to be enough to tell us we got to stop Eric Adams. We know that. Or we got to stop Curtis Slewa. We know that. You got to start addressing a black agenda. You got to publicly, openly say,
That's
I
right.
support reparations.
That's
You
right.
got to openly say, I am going to have a multi-billion dollar. You know, New York City has a $116 billion budget, and that's the expense
Hmm.
budget. They also have a $169 billion 10-year capital budget. There's no way we should have all this poverty in the hood, 30 and
Hmm.
40% poverty with that kind of money. The state budget is $252 billion. Separate from that is another $60 billion capital budget. Separate from that is $15 billion in unrestricted money that Hochul could use for anything. Separate from the 116 billion in the city is a $8 billion budget that Adams can use for anything. How the hell we have all this poverty, crime,
Hmm.
unemployment, miseducation, inadequate health care, difficulties paying transportation is cost too much to get on the trains. They all should be free. Health care should be
Yep.
free.
Always free.
Education should be free. So Mandani, you got to address a black agenda. And
That's
don't
right.
tell me I'm doing free buses and that's for everybody. No, I don't want to hear that. That's what Barack Obama told me when I argued with him. He said, I said, Brother Obama, when he came to New York and running for president, he was Senator Obama. I said, you know, where you stand on reparations. I saw you on TV. You weren't for it. And then I said, and you said nothing about police brutality and how you're going to stop some of this
Mhm.
stuff. And what about billions for poverty? Brother, I'm not trying to be president of Black America. I'm trying to be the president of the United States of America. That's all right. Make sure you say that to the Jews when they tell you to support Israel. Tell them
Mm.
that you're not trying to be the president of Jewish America. You're trying to be the president of the United States of America. You don't say it to them. Don't say it to me.
Mm. Mm.
So this is the kind of stuff that we got to say. We got to speak truth to power, and power is the great equalizer.
That's
So that's where I'm at now. He needs to talk to us. If he doesn't, he can run the risk of losing this thing in November because it is not over. This is going to be a national attack on a socialist mayor in the number one city in the world.
the money city.
Are you kidding? The city where the United Nations, the whole world meets, the city where the citadel of capitalism is, was Wall Street, the communication city of the world. Oh no, they ain't
but
having that. So
but
it's
but
going to be a
but
battle.
but brother, let me ask you this: do you really believe that he's going to not fall victim to the capitalistic gaze that all the politicians do? As soon as they'll tell you that they for the people, they for everything, and then once they get in office, now they turn into the multi-million dollar businessman.
Well, you know, I hear that a lot, but I've been in the electoral arena for 21 years. My wife and I, we took a seat, a city council seat, and a state assembly seat in a little place called East New York, Brooklyn, and we took on the power structure. We were able to get three new $88 million schools built, $150 million worth of renovated parks, two new libraries, a youth center that young people are running it. We got 6,000 jobs for our people. We stopped Walmart from coming in. So it is not up to him totally. And this is why we should do a power analysis. You could lie all you want. But if we get the right people in city council, legislative bodies, the mayor doesn't pass the budget, the city council does. The mayor can't even pass any laws. The city council, he'd have to get a council sponsor. So there are ways to get people in there, and there's a ways to hold people accountable. We're 2 million strong. We could shut the damn city down if somebody tries to betray us. So it's not about what they're gonna do and not going to do, it's what are you gonna do? What are we gonna do with 2 million black people in New York City, 2.3 million Latino people in New York City? We should be able to hold people accountable. So you're right. They say what they want to say. None of them are really anti capitalism. AOC and Bernie Sanders, you want to know how, if a politician is really socialist or revolutionary radical? See if they vote for the budget. My wife and I has been in there for 21 years. The only time we ever voted for the budget was our first year because we didn't know what was happening. Once I found out what was going on, I never voted for another budget in my 14 years in the city council. Never voted for a state budget in my 7 years in the state assembly, and was able to get money into these budgets by standing strong and the leaders not wanting anybody to be influenced by me, so they put stuff in there that I wanted so that nobody would follow me and not vote for the budget. So yes, you're right. That's the typical thing that people say, but guess what? Politics, some people just say, I ain't into politics. You don't have to be, it's into you. Every decision in your community is a political decision. You know, the air that you breathe in is based upon a political decision of whether they're going to build an incinerator in your district or not. The schools that they shut down is a political decision. When Walmart's going to come in and destroy your economy is a political decision. There's nothing that goes on in our communities that is not involving politics. So you need to get into politics. I'm not telling you to be a politician, but at least be into where the power is. Every revolution in the world, from the African independence movements, they dealt with state power. And we need to do the same.
All right, so folks, we're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we're going to come back with Charles. And I want to really ask you specifically, how do we mobilize more and more young people who are, disenfranchised with the way the system has been operating? A lot of people have position, no power, all that other kind of stuff. When we come back, folks, this is the Colored Only Cafe, where the conversation is always hot, black, and strong. We'll be right back.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a great opportunity. If you have an event, product, business, talent, and/or something important to say, now is your chance. You can have your very own radio show. Whether you're just starting out or a veteran looking for a professional platform to enhance your presentation and following, the GoPro Radio Network is the premier place to cultivate and share new and exciting content. We can help you grow your audience and keep it growing long after your first broadcast. Now you have a voice. Call 646-415-0990 or go to www.goproradio.com. That's www.goproradio.com. You'll be amazed at how easy and affordable it is to have your own professional radio show on the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
Here's the new GoPro Radio lineup. On Monday at 10 p.m., we start out with Lydia's Lyrical Lounge. Tuesday at 9 p.m., it's the Tantrum Artist Management Show with Dream McFly and Tylon. And there's more. At 10 p.m., it's the Pleasure Palace with Juicy Lynn and Dr. Stone Love. And at 11 p.m., it's Sir Smash a Lot with Baby Making Music. On Wednesday at 9 p.m., it's the Colored Only Cafe with Dr. Ron and Tylon Usaba Washington. And on Thursday, it's the I Ain't Having It Show at 10 p.m. with yours truly. And on Friday, it's the SBS Mixtape Show. And on Saturday, it's the Party Zone at 9 p.m. The GoPro Radio #1.
Hello, my name is Kathleen Blanco. Every chance I get, I try to listen to the GoPro Radio Network at GoProRadio.com, the fastest growing network in the galaxy, especially on Saturday nights with the Party Zone at 9 p.m.
The views and opinions expressed on GoPro Radio Network shows are solely those of the speakers and are not necessarily the views or opinions of GoPro Radio Network Inc. or its affiliates. These broadcasts are provided on the understanding that they do not constitute professional advice or services. Individuals who speak on these broadcasts express their own opinions, experiences, and conclusions. GoPro Radio Networks and its affiliates do not necessarily endorse or oppose any particular opinion or conclusion discussed in these broadcasts. You may not edit or modify or redistribute these broadcasts in any way without the express permission from GoPro Radio, LLC. GoPro Radio assumes no liability for any of your activities in connection with our broadcasts or for your use of these broadcasts in connection with your website, computer, smartphone, tablet, iPad, or future listening devices. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.
African Americans have a unique history in this country. There's a legacy of brutal enslavement, economic exploitation, state-sanctioned violence, and deliberate attempts to divide an already fractured people. Bobby Seale said, "The best way to fight racism and oppression is with solidarity." Dr. Ron Christopher Osborne Williams and filmmaker Tylon U. Savior Washington has created a unique online experience where African Americans are not only welcome, but preferred. A space where the only thing that matters is your blackness. Welcome to the Colored Only Cafe. With Dashawn Farad giving us our world news, Bro Pete, the Empress Lydia Percy, Sonny B. Sutherland Sr., and you, the black community. Welcome to the Colored Only Cafe, where the conversation is always hot, black, and strong.
Wow, we're down to the last quarter. Oh man, time is moving fast. It doesn't wait on anybody. Well, once again, folks, if you're listening to us on Facebook and you want to talk to Charles Barron, you can. We made it really fast and easy. All you have to do is go to GoProRadio.com and click on the Join Live button. Yeah, we're talking about the New York City politics, and because New York City is kind of odd in terms of, the whole political landscape. I've been totally turned off, by it. I just, think people need to get elected and then just start flipping over the desk or whatever. But what are some of the dangers of relying on so-called progressive candidates who are still tied to corporate money or establishment politics, Charles?
Well, the biggest danger is people like us not being in it. See, we didn't rely on them. When I was in East New York, I was critical of the political establishment out there. I mean, I called them everything but a child of God. You no good, dirty, low down.
No, I was there. I saw it.
You know it.
I loved it, especially when you was doing it for your mental health. You was like, you're like, smack them for my mental health.
Oh boy!
I like this guy, Charles.
When I said that remark, I was at a reparations rally, and I got up there, 100,000 people. I said, "Man, what we doing standing on this lawn talking about, let's go to the Treasury Department, let's take out reparations." Now, ain't no money in there for us to take. So I'm talking trash. And then I said, for my black mental health, I'm going to slap the first white man I see when I get back to New York and tell him it's a black thing.
I was there when you said it. I was like, this guy's interesting.
I'm saying, oh, Charles, I forgot I was a councilman. I'm doing my activist rally talk. When I got back to New York.
Oh, of course. It was all in the paper. Everybody was talking about it.
All over. So yeah, I was supposed to do this a conservative radio program. So I said, I'm going to do it. So they said, Good morning, Councilman. How you feeling? And I said, oh, it's great to be alive. I'm just excited. I knew they had it.
Yeah, but it was actually interesting, Charles, and fascinating for me to kind of watch how you maneuvered it, like in the system, that was not designed to empower us at all. They have mechanisms and machineries and things and little laws and widgets in place to stifle and even stop, people, like you and saying the things that I was like, I wonder how sometimes, like, how did this guy survive? Like
You
what?
know what? No, I said to myself, I told my people, I believe I could run and I believe I could win. But I want to let y'all know I will never be a politician. So when I get in, don't ask me to be cool. Don't ask me to put on a shirt and tie because I don't wear them. You
Right.
know, that was a big thing when I went to the state assembly. They said the decorum of the state assembly is all the men had to wear shirts and ties. And so the big deal, you remember Sheldon Silver, the
Of
big,
course. Yeah.
the speaker? He had a whole meeting. Barron's coming. The media saying, "Are you going to make Barron put on a shirt and tie?" And so when I got up there, media's all over the place, not for no major issues. Are you going to put on a shirt and tie? I said, "Do I look like I have one on? I'm going to take my seat." And you know, they asked me, "So why don't you wear a shirt and tie?" I said, "Because I'm not European."
Mm.
They said, "Well, what are you?" I said, "I'm African." And they said, "Well, what country you come from?" I said, "I don't know. Y'all stole me and brought me here, so I'm still trying to figure that
Mm.
out."
Mm.
You know, but I am an African born in America. I don't wear shirts and ties. Period. So you know, I said I'm coming to take my seat. Bring it. We're gonna rumble because if you think I'm not sitting in my seat after my people elected me because of some imperialistic, you know, cultural shirt and tie, you must be crazy. So you are talking to the first man ever to enter the chambers of the New York City State Assembly of 150 million, 50 people with no shirt and tie. Now, and I never put one on. And when I was on that radio program, they said, Mr. Barron, we have a report here that you said for my black mental health, I'm going to slap the first white man I see. Did you say that? I said, yes, sir. And he said, he said uh, would you want to explain it? And just to mess with them, I said, yes, it was a case of oratorical improvisation and black hyperbole. He said, what? I said, oratorical improvisation and black hyperbole. He said, what's the black hyperbole? I said, well, a hyperbole is the figure of speech. You know, you have metaphor, simile. I know what a hyperbole is. I said, well, why'd you ask? He said, what's a black hyperbole? I said, well, my mama told me I got on her nerves on Sunday. She said, boy, I will slap you into Tuesday. That didn't mean Monday wasn't going to happen. That's a hyperbole. And then you know what these fools said? Tell me another one. So I said, yep. My mother told me also, I brought you in this world. I will take you out of this world. That is not my mama's, you know, a threat for murder. It's a hyperbole. So he
Right.
said, oh, so you were just playing. I said, no, my mama wasn't playing with me, and I'm not playing with y'all. Now let's talk about reparations.
Mm.
But you know, these
Let's
little
focus
things
on
that you
reparations.
do with them is just to let them know this is a black man y'all never met. I am not given an inch, not on where I'm sitting in the chambers. They told me I couldn't bring Robert Mugabe. I brought the president of Zimbabwe to City Hall. They had a
Hmm.
fit, and I made them. I went up to the chambers. They didn't want me to have them there at all. They, you know, there's so many things. I got a reparations bill passed
Right.
in the state assembly, and my biggest accomplishment was getting the freedom of 3 political prisoners, along with the Jericho movement. Have been working on it for years.
Right.
But Seth Hayes, Herman Bell, and Jalil Montecalm, all of the Black Liberation Army, spending 30, 40 years in prison. We got some
Yeah, we got to get
letters.
Mumia. We got to get Mumia
Got
out
to
of
get him
this.
out.
We got to
We
get
got
him
him
out.
out. And
We
I
got to
got a
push
letter for
that along with
also.
reparations. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
political prisoners. See, that's what Mamdani, getting back to him, he should speak out for political prisoners.
Right.
He should speak out for reparations. He should can make a commitment to end poverty in the hood. You know, I don't want to hear none of that other, you know, I got a free bus ride. Come on now.
And we need a black hate bill. You know, like they had the Asian hate
Yeah,
bill and all that.
that's right.
Yeah,
That's
we need.
right.
We're the ones that's mostly attacked all over the world. We come up
Right.
missing and all that, and nobody's
Mhm.
talking about black issues.
That's right. But remember this, we're not going to be able to vote our way to freedom. The electoral politics has its limitations. We got to do other things like we got to have community land trust where we take over the land in our communities. Mamdani, he could fund a community land trust. He can give them the land like they're giving these white developers the land for dirt cheap. So there's a lot of things the socialists could do. Cooperative economics, cooperatives is a socialist concept. He could fund that in his big budget.
Now, I want to ask you: can you just share it, like some of the insights, or I would say behind the scenes truths about how the New York City, Democratic machine operates, particularly during mayoral elections?
Well, first of all, the Democratic Party machine, one of the things we take pride in, we beat for 21 years the most powerful Democratic organization in the country, and that's the Kings County Democratic Party in Brooklyn. They have Wall Street money, they have real estate money, they have a battery of lawyers. They will knock you off the ballot if you don't do your petitions right. They will swarm your voting uh, places during election day with the election day operation. So it's very, very difficult to beat the machine. This is why the same Negroes in office, the sycophants, by the way, we call them sycophants because the sycophant is one who sucks up to brown noses, kisses parts of the anatomy of people in power they ought not to be kissing for their personal gain and not our collective liberation. So New York is filled with black faces in high places because the Democratic Party machine is controlling these blacks. And these are the blacks that are against Zoran because the DSA is not part of a machine. They were totally against us because we had an independent organization called Operation Power, people organizing and working for empowerment and respect. So even though we registered as Democrats and were in the Democratic primary, we didn't go to any of their meetings. We didn't use any of their lawyers. We didn't let them do any fundraising for us. We didn't let them carry any petitions to get us on the ballot. We did it all ourselves. They always had more money, but they never outworked us. And that's how we beat them. The only reason why we're not in now, my wife retired. And in my last year, it was a 2-year term instead of a 4-year term. So I won in 2021. I beat the machine again. 16,000 people came out. I got over 9,000 votes. Machine got 6. But then it wasn't a 4-year term, it was a 2-year term. So people thought the election, didn't know it was the election. So only 6,000 people came out and they got 3,100 and I got
I'm sure they
2,600.
planned that. Yeah, I'm sorry. We're gonna have to pull you out of retirement. Are you working with or I hate to say cultivating new young voices that have that kind of fire that you have? That can go into the system and not be susceptible to the to this machine.
Absolutely. Brother Karan Allen, Sister Alice Lohman. We have Operation Power, Kiru Chichiru. He's in Queens. We are developing the ideology of people. See, without ideology, a movement without ideology and vision is like flying a plane without radar. You won't know where you're landing. So ideology is important. This is why you had a Black Lives Matter movement and all of that motion around police brutality, but there was no vision, there was no ideology, so it eventually faded. The same thing with the Occupy Wall Street movement. Occupiers, no vision, no ideology. So we have a black radical African internationalist ideology. We believe Africa is the center central for our liberation, unification of Africa under socialism, but central to our liberation of the Africans in the diaspora. And we believe that power is the great equalizer, and we should get it on a local level in the city councils and the state assemblies. We can get so much. We just got $1 million for a African cultural museum. Brother was sitting there with all of that stuff and just had nowhere to put it. So they were able to get money for him. So the Democratic Party, let me tell you how bad they are. When I first ran, I got 5,000 signatures to get on the ballot. I only needed 900. They took me to court. You think Obama had problems? They said, and I'm not kidding you, they said I was not a citizen of the United States of America.
Oh, so where did they say you came from?
They didn't. But you know what the
You-
thing, and they said we got 5,000 signatures. My wife got, some signatures. She forged 700 signatures. We had no two signatures that looked alike. And what they were doing, they knew that wasn't going nowhere, but they picked the judges. See, the Democratic Party picks the judges. So I'm in a court with a judge, Judge Gary, who was there because of the Democratic Party Kings County organization. But it was so absurd. Their tactic was to make me spend money in court, knowing they were going to lose. I had to spend $6,000 just to bring my birth certificate to court, and another 3,000 because we won it and they appealed it, so I had to pay another 3,000 to deal with the appeal. That's $10,000 I could have been, doing mailing with and
Right, right.
robocalls and posters. So it is hard to beat the machine, but the best way to beat them, and we beat them. And when I say the machine, I'm talking about Hakeem Jeffries. I'm talking about Eric Adams. I'm talking about Tish James. I'm talking about Frank Setio in Brooklyn, Rodney Bouchat. I'm talking about all the electeds and incumbents. I'm talking about unions. I'm talking about that's the machine. Real estate industry, that's what you got to go up against. And I said, well, wait a minute. I don't care what they got. There are 10,000 people that come out to vote in my beloved East New York for city council. The place is 90% black and brown. They have public housing, they have homeowners, and they have private apartment buildings. I'm going to crash them places. I'm going to be at the train stations every morning. So I don't have the money they have, but I'm going to be able to do everything that money. Let me just wait till, hold it. Hold it. I'm sorry about that. Oh, so I told them I'm going to work, I'm going to outwork them.
Right.
And that's what I did. I outworked them. And every morning I was in the train stations from 7 to 9. People said, would you go get some rest, Mr. Barron? We got you. We're going to vote for you. But, you got to hit that voter, about 7, 8 times before they remember you. You got to hit them 7 or 8 times. You got to be at the train station. You got to be in their churches. You got to go to their block parties. You got to go to block association meetings. You got to go to tenant association meetings. This is all the stuff that you have to do just to beat
Beat the
this
streets.
machine.
You got to be in the streets. Be in the streets.
Yep, got to
Well,
outwork them.
well, folks. We're coming up to our, last few minutes. I'm gonna open up the microphone. So if you want to have any questions, comments, or concerns to Mr. Charles Barron, you speak now. Forever hold your peace. By the way, you can unmute.
Well, hi, good evening.
Good
Respect,
evening.
Charles Barron. I love you, and I've been there when you were with the D12, and
Oh,
definitely,
yes. Mm-hmm.
yes, at Daughtry. So you're always on my roster, so no doubt. So keep on doing what you're doing. Much love,
Thank you
respect.
very much. I appreciate that.
Hello.
Yep, I'm still here.
Everyone, you can, if you want to ask. If you don't, I'll just go ahead and I have one more question. And this is going to the really like a message to the young. I would say, people who are just pretty much disillusioned, disconnected, disenfranchised from the process. What message do you have for them?
Well, my message for them is, first of all, don't be disillusioned about our struggle for liberation and a particular tactic and strategy that we're using, because there's no one strategy that we're going to be able to use to win in isolation. So even if you say, I ain't into no electoral politics, I'm going to march. You can march all you want. It's going to take more than marching. You can say, okay, I'm not into that marching and demonstrations. What I'm going to do is I'm going to learn my African history, and I'm going to get to know who I am. And knowledge is power. No, it isn't. The applied use of knowledge is power. But just knowing and just scholars that write books is a good thing, because we need to read and we got to know who we are. And I was listening to the brother on your show earlier. He was saying the right thing, but we can't just do that. So there's no one thing. So I say to young people, look what Inez and I did. We are a model. I won my city council seat at the age of 52. And I stayed in there for 21 years. I'm now going on 75. And so if you're 20, 30, come on now. Ain't no time to be tired. Ain't no time to be disillusioned. We're going to win. You know, they have to create a image of invincibility. They want to wear you down so that you just start focusing on survival. They want you to be, you can't beat City Hall. You can't beat Washington. You can't beat their nuclear weapons. You can't beat their police. You can't beat their advanced army. America has never won a war ever. They lost in Vietnam. They lost in Afghanistan. They lost in Iraq. And they're losing in the Middle East now with Israel. Don't be fooled. This is the best time for you to be alive. This is the best time for you to get involved. Find a lane that you want to go down, whether it's electoral arena or whether it's being a revolutionary teacher or a revolutionary artist, hip hop or jazz or whatever it is, or a revolutionary doctor, a revolutionary dancer, choreographing dance and writing poems, a revolutionary spoken word artist, or a revolutionary elected official. We don't have no time to be tired or disillusioned. We are winning, and ultimately, we're going to win. No form of our oppression is permanent. It's temporary. Just feels like it's been this way a long time.
Brother, what do you see the difference? This is Brother Pete. How you doing, brother?
Fine, thank you.
All power to the people.
Yes, sir.
What do you see the difficulties in getting our youth to understand or to be trained to become part of the political process of the Black agenda?
Well, the challenging is not just the youth, it's the adults. It's us. You know, some of us have not done what we were supposed to do to institutionalize stuff in the 60s.
Brother, can you please say that again?
That we, as an adult community, we did a great job in the 60s. You know, the 60s was flaming, you know, with Revolutionary Action Movement, RAM. We had revolutionary nationalists. We had the Black Panther Party, Civil Rights Movement. We had all kinds of movements. All of those things are gone. So this generation, and we had a cultural revolution. You know, we went from Negro, colored, Black to African. And, you know, now we have to bring a cultural revolution to this generation. So what we got to do is have examples, not a bunch of empty rhetoric. This is why I got into the electoral arena, because now I could deliver, not just talking, you know, and yeah, I can rap, you know, I can run down a lot of, you know, revolutionary rhetoric and a little bit, a tiny bit of history and political science, and I can make the case. But when you in my beloved East New York, you got to make the case and put some food on the table. You got to make the case and make sure they have affordable housing, that they're not gentrified out of their homes. You can make the case, but you got to create employment for them. And we got over 6,000 jobs for them. Every year, we give out money to food pantries to make sure we can eat. We have the Betty Shabazz Health Center we got so we can have affordable health care. You have to deliver for young people. Set the example, not just a bunch of talk and saying these young people, look how they are all over the place. I went to a conference in Indiana And my wife and I, man, 400 to 500 dynamite, young, radical youth looking for direction, doing great things in their community. So it's not the youth. There are some youth that are really getting down.
All right. Well, on that note, Charles, thank you so much. I mean, this was like kind of at the last moment because, I was we were on the thread and now he was like letting Eric Adams have it. And so I said, man, you got to come on the show. We got to talk about this election stuff because, like, I'm one of those people that's like, whatever happens there, I just can't wait for the revolution. And you're right. People got to eat before the revolution even happened, right? People got so much to eat before the revolution happened. So I want to thank you once again for taking time out of your hectic schedule to be here. You are always invited. Just know that the answer is yes. Something going on that we need to know about, let them know that we are here at the GoPro Radio Network. Free Speech Radio is alive. And guess what? We have our own servers. Speaking about institutions, we have institutions. You can go 24/7 to GoPro Radio, listen to content, listen to music, and all that other kind of stuff. And I'm going to be opening up real soon the first independent radical revolutionary film studio. That's right. You don't need you don't need all that land and all other kinds of. They're doing things now virtually and technically.
There you go.
With AI, and so we're on the cutting edge of that here. And so maybe that's something we can talk about bringing into East New York because that's my people don't know that's my hometown. I went to George Gershwin. I went to Thomas Jefferson.
Really? Okay.
That's right. Right on New Line Town, between Vermont and New Jersey. That's where.
Oh man, you got it. I'm right on Bradford between Linden and Hegeman.
Oh yeah, know exactly where you are, man. So we got to make a lot of things happen. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. I want to thank you, Brother Pete, who always brings the heat. Thank you for being here. Colte's Ransom, thank you for popping through. I see you on here. Marlene, the machine is here. All About Community, SBS, Sonny B. Sutherland, who has a show tomorrow. I'm not having it tomorrow. Lydia Percy, always beautiful to have you. JT, Jamel, thank you for being here. Super Black Man, Kitty Cat, and definitely Shuja, thank you for hanging out, and definitely come back when you have those books and all the next events that are coming in. Kathleen Blanco, thank you for the drop. By the way, folks, if you're interested in doing a drop, you can just take your cell phone. Matter of fact, Charles Barron, can you do a drop for us? Just send it to me. Say, hey, you was on the GoPro Radio, the fastest growing network, and stuff like that, so we can put a commercial in and run it on.
What do you want me? You want me to say it now or send it to you? What?
Yeah, well, send it to you, because I want to see your face in the place. Say, I listen to the GoPro Radio Network, so we can really chop it up and make it a really nice.
Well, place. I'm technologically challenged. So just I'm
gonna have to come out there and do it with you. Hey, bring the cameras out, right?
I mean, to promote you, man, anytime, because you got history, brother. You've been at it for a while.
Absolutely, because
it'll be my honor.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Persistence beats resistance. I want to thank you also, Amanda and Jackie. Thank you for being on here and then early, and also the station manager for all the behind the scenes work. Kathleen Blanco, thank you once again for the drop. And I will see all of you guys next week on the Colored Only Cafe, where the conversation is always hot, black, and strong.
It's kind of crazy because people think I got it made just because I got paper. I mean, I do got it made, but that's because I made it myself. Gang, gang. People be all in my face, wanting the time and the place, do interviews, then I'm on stage. Cause baby, I gotta get paid, no matter what most people say. Cause all of them get in the way, I'm working way more than I play. Which mean I'm gonna be here to stay. I roll me one up and I blaze, and take a joint straight to the face. The suckers keep hoping I change, but no, I'm a sting in my life.
You're listening to content developed by the GoPro Radio Network, the fastest growing network in the galaxy. GoPro Radio Network. Listen to the voices in your head.